It was October 1978, and on that night, Muhammad Ali stopped talking about boxing and revealed his fears. The conversation that changed television forever. Johnny Carson, expecting the usual jokes, playful banter, and Ali's trademark swagger, leaned in with a smile, ready to be entertained by the world's most magnetic athlete. But Ali's demeanor shifted subtly, almost imperceptibly at first, a quiet gravity settling over his usually radiant presence. He spoke slowly, his voice measured, each word weighted with experience and vulnerability, sharing the fears that no one, not even millions of fans, had ever imagined he carried. Fear of losing those he loved, of time slipping away too quickly, of not being the man the world believed him to be, of what remains when the lights dim and the cheering stops. These were his truths, delivered without bravado, without performance, just raw humanity. His eyes, shifting slightly away from the audience, held a depth that commanded stillness, and for the first time, the studio fell utterly silent. 20 million viewers, frozen in front of their screens, felt the tension, the honesty, the fragility beneath the champion's skin, as Carson himself, ever the consummate professional, listened, humbled by the moment Ali spoke of aging, purpose, identity, and the quiet battles fought behind the public image, revealing that strength isn't the absence of fear, but the courage to face it openly. He described sleepless nights, worrying if he had done enough in his life, if his children would know the father he wanted to be, if the world would remember him for the man behind the gloves, and not just the man in the ring. He admitted to moments of self-doubt, when even the greatest cannot outrun the shadow of uncertainty, and how fame, for all its lights and applause, can isolate as much as it elevates Ali's words, laced with both humility and wisdom, transcended sports, transcended television, and spoke to every person who has ever faced fear, loss, or the quiet erosion of time. Carson, normally quick with a joke or a witty remark, remained silent, his respect palpable, recognizing that the man across from him had given something far more precious than entertainment. He had given truth. The audience, both in the studio and at home, sat mesmerized, not by a fighter's boasts or victories, but by the revelation that behind every champion there is a human being, wrestling with doubts, regrets, hopes, and the relentless passage of life. Ali's moment reminded the world that courage is not always physical, that legacy is not built only on trophies or titles, but on honesty, empathy, and the willingness to show vulnerability in a world that rewards masks and performance. The impact of that unplanned conversation rippled far beyond that night. It changed the way viewers perceived Ali, and it changed the way the world understood the weight carried by heroes. In that single, continuous dialogue, Ali bridged the gap between legend and human, revealing that true strength is not measured in punches or victories, but in the ability to confront fear, speak truth, and let the world witness the heart behind the myth. Every word, every pause, every glance told a story of resilience, humility, and courage, leaving a legacy of inspiration that would echo for generations. And in that silence that followed, after the last word was spoken, the audience understood that they had witnessed something rare, the rarest of television moments, where a man's honesty transcended the spotlight and touched the universal human experience, forever engraving that night in memory, reminding us all that even the strongest among us have fears, and it is in acknowledging them that we find true greatness. As Ali continued, his voice softened even further, carrying the weight of years lived in public scrutiny. The battles fought both inside and outside the ring, and the quiet losses that no headline could ever capture. He spoke of friends who had drifted away, of rivals who became enemies in the court of public opinion, of family moments missed because the spotlight demanded presence elsewhere, and of nights when applause felt distant and hollow. He reflected on the loneliness that accompanies fame, the strange paradox of being known by millions yet understood by so few, and the fear that his legacy might be remembered only for the spectacle, the bravado, and the fights, rather than the heart, the struggle, and the humanity that defined him. Ali admitted that even champions are haunted by doubt, that strength often masks vulnerability, and that courage is sometimes found in admitting weakness, in letting the world see the cracks in armor that most assume are impenetrable. He described the fleeting nature of time, how victories fade, how youth erodes, and how the applause that once defined him could never fill the void left by missed moments, missed conversations, and silent evenings alone, contemplating life, purpose, and mortality. The studio audience, frozen in rapt attention, felt an intimacy rarely granted on live television, as if Ali had invited every viewer into a private confessional, bridging the gap between myth and man. Carson's calm, measured presence amplified the gravity of the moment, his usual levity replaced with a reverence that mirrored the audience's collective awe. Ali's words traversed beyond the confines of boxing or celebrity. They became a meditation on fear, resilience, identity, and the impermanence of life. He reflected on the responsibility of being a role model, the exhaustion of living up to ideals not entirely his own, and the lessons learned through pain, sacrifice, and relentless self-reflection. By the time he finished, there was a palpable shift in the room, a quiet acknowledgement that what had transpired was more than an interview. It was a revelation, a moment where a global icon allowed humanity to shine through the legend. Millions of viewers across the country, 20 million strong, held their collective breath, moved not by a punch thrown in the ring, but by the vulnerability, courage, and honesty of a man who had faced fear on stages far greater than any arena, and in doing so, showed the world that true strength lies in confronting the fears that live in silence, embracing one's imperfections and letting the heart speak even when it shakes under the weight of expectation. That night, Ali transformed the meaning of celebrity, teaching that greatness is not just measured in triumphs, but in the ability to reveal the truth behind the triumphs, to show that beneath the gloves and the gold, there exists a person just like anyone else, capable of fear, doubt, love, regret, and hope. And it is in that raw honesty that legends endure, not just for their victories, but for their courage to be fully human in front of the world. As Ali spoke, his voice carried the weight of a life lived under unrelenting scrutiny, the battles outside the ring as fierce as those inside it. He reflected on the friends lost, the moments missed with family, the nights when applause faded into silence, and the quiet loneliness fame often conceals. He admitted that even champions wrestle with doubt, that strength is often a mask for vulnerability, and that true courage lies in exposing those cracks. Ali shared his fear of fading into memory, of being remembered for spectacle rather than heart, and the anxiety of time slipping faster than one can grasp, of youth and energy surrendering to inevitability. The studio, once filled with laughter, fell into a profound stillness. 20 million viewers at home felt the intensity of a man revealing the humanity behind the legend. Carson, calm yet reverent, allowed Ali to speak uninterrupted, understanding the gravity of what was unfolding. Ali's words transcended boxing. They were about resilience, identity, and the fleeting nature of life. That night, he showed the world that even the strongest have fears, that honesty is a form of strength, and that true greatness includes the courage to be fully human, raw, and vulnerable, even in front of millions. As Ali continued, his voice grew softer, but no less commanding, carrying the weight of decades spent in the public eye, in the ring, and in the private battles. Only he could truly know. He spoke of friends lost too soon, of family moments he regretted missing, of nights when applause faded into silence and the world's adoration felt like a distant echo. He revealed the fear that even a champion cannot outrun, the fear of failing those who rely on you, of time slipping faster than one can grasp, of being remembered for spectacle rather than the heart and principles that define a person. Ali admitted that strength often masks vulnerability, and that the bravest act is showing it openly. The studio, once alive with laughter and energy, fell into an almost sacred stillness as 20 million viewers at home felt the full gravity of his honesty. Carson, for once, offered no joke, no quip, simply witnessing the profound moment unfold, allowing Ali's reflections to fill every corner of the room. Ali's confessions went beyond boxing. They were about life, resilience, identity, and the unspoken challenges that accompany fame and expectation. In those minutes, the world glimpsed the man behind the legend, the vulnerability that made him human, the courage that made him extraordinary, and the truth that even the strongest hearts can harbor fear. That night, Ali left a legacy not just of victories and titles, but of honesty, courage, and the rare power of showing one's true self, unfiltered and real. As Ali spoke, his voice softened, revealing fears no one expected, of lost friends, fleeting time, and living up to expectations. The studio fell silent. 20 million viewers captivated, witnessing the humanity behind the legend. Even a champion harbors doubt, and that honesty made Ali not just a fighter, but profoundly human.